You are the country representative in Belize. What, in your opinion, are some of the issues facing the country?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Belize is a small nation in the Latin American and Caribbean region, and it's a nation that has achieved extraordinary progress in early childhood, particularly. Right now we have 96% birth registration rates. Infant mortality is at 9 per 1,000. It's reduced by over 50% in the last decade. Stunting has reduced by more than a half. Exclusive breastfeeding at 6 months, it has doubled in the last 5 years. So we're seeing a lot of progress in many aspects of the life of very young children, but we also see lots of disparities, and that's a major concern for us. The poverty rates are 40% in the country. Rural poverty is double the poverty rates in urban areas. And so one of our major challenges is making sure that progress that is made in a way that touches the lives of every child, and that we achieve equity and access to services, that we achieve equal progress for every household, every family, everywhere. UNICEF is working with Belize to make sure that we end multidimensional poverty, that we have a better understanding through data around the complex experience of poverty and the way that this interferes with the rights and access to services and opportunities for every child. We're also focusing on ensuring that children have the opportunity for lifelong education, that learning starts in the earliest moments of life and continues through all the way to adolescence and into adulthood. We are working to ensure that we address the challenge of violence and lack of access to justice, and making sure that the strategies in place in country address the needs of children and teenagers in their rights to education about their rights, and in terms of sensitivity of the legal systems and justice systems to care for the most vulnerable. So those are the three components, and what we are working with the government to do is to make sure that we have a system of support for children that ensures continuity of opportunity, of support and protection from early childhood all the way through the experience for every child.
What goals do you think UNICEF should be focusing on to achieve the aims of the strategic plan and the SDGs?
Our major goal is going to make sure that whatever we do, we build for the long term, that we keep our focus squarely on strengthening systems, making sure that in every sector there's a clear identification of priorities informed by data on the experience of children. We want to make sure that from health to education and social development and justice, every sector is keeping an eye on the experience and challenges affecting children from early childhood through to adolescence, and tailoring their responses, their strategies, their policies, their budgets to address the major challenges affecting children, and particularly the most vulnerable. So we're investing heavily in data and strengthening of capacity for collection, for analysis, and for use and communication of that data. That implies working not only with the government sectors but with communities, because when the data is received and when communities have the opportunity to engage with that information and question the implications for service delivery, for demand, for social change in the community and in the families, then we start to see transformations take effect. So we're prioritizing data, we're prioritizing community engagement for sustainable transformation and change. We're prioritizing child participation, and for that we're introducing new and innovative ways of partnering with children in decision making, in data gathering, and in informing service delivery. Belize has established the Sustainable Child-Friendly Municipalities Initiative, which has seen every municipality in Belize establish a partnership with children selected or nominated by their peers in school and out of school as liaisons between children in the community and decision makers, to ensure that every decision, every plan at the community level is sensitive to the real experiences of children. We're introducing U-Report to make sure that we create a two-way communication mechanism and a mechanism that will ensure that there is a rapid opportunity for data, real-time data collection to complement the administrative data systems and the surveys that are conducted less frequently to ensure that we constantly have the perspective on children and their voices. And we're trying to introduce this in every sector so that we get better and better at making our systems, our responses more child sensitive.
You attended the ECD Global Network meeting this week. What are your main takeaways?
It was an excellent meeting, and I think that for me the main takeaway is that we've got to embed the understanding and appreciation for ECD in everything that we do if we're to realize the vision of systems and services that are sensitive to the to early childhood development outcomes and that are preparing to optimize their resources to deliver on those outcomes. It's clear that early childhood development has to be, early childhood development outcomes can only be delivered when all of the sectors commit the resources, technical and financial, to enable delivery of services and engagement with communities, support to families to achieve those outcomes. And so I'm encouraged by what we saw and heard this week because I can see the work that we're doing in Belize building on our community engagement approaches, the partnerships that we've established with children, the investments that we've made in strengthening the workforce in the human development sector, and the partnership between human development, health, and education. We have done well, therefore, to build the kind of infrastructure and partnership that will help us realize the early childhood development outcomes that we seek to achieve.
How is UNICEF Belize championing multi-sectoral early childhood development programming with the government and partners?
So in Belize, we've set up a multi-sectoral coordination committee, an ECD technical working group that's co-chaired by the Ministries of Human Development, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Education. And that is the main body that brings together this multi-sectoral team to take stock of the data on child well-being from the earliest moments of life, and to think through how we create a seamless support system for families and for frontline workers to ensure that we can achieve the outcomes. We've conducted 2 country visits in the Latin American region to learn from other countries about how they've built up successful systems. We've brought that information back. We've integrated questions on ECD into our surveys. We've recently released a mixed survey which provided more in-depth perspective about where we're doing well in terms of early childhood development and where we need more development. We have an understanding now of the disparities that we see in terms of geographic progress, and we are using that data now. We've finalized an ECD policy. We now have an ECD strategy that's in its final stages. We're developing an M&E framework to make sure that the accountabilities defined for each sector are followed up on systematically, and that data will feed further into the refinement of our strategies. And we've partnered with communities. We have a workforce of roving caregivers that visit households on a regular basis, households with very young children, and work with parents and teach parents how to be more effective in stimulating learning in the youngest child and in ensuring that the child is ready for success in school. We're working with frontline workers in hospitals as well. So we're creating a multi-sectoral task force that will ensure that there is continuity of support and reinforcement of the communication about ECD and the support to the child for early childhood development outcomes. But I think the most important thing is that we're continually reinforcing this priority through our communication efforts and mobilizing through the media, mobilizing through families, the skills that we have in place across the country so that it becomes everyone's business and we gradually achieve these outcomes because we've transformed the expectations in the country and enlisted everybody in doing things differently to make sure that every child has the opportunity to thrive and to receive the support to succeed through early childhood and in school ultimately.
How have approaches to ECD changed during your time working on this issue, and what do you envision to be the future of ECD?
I think that there's been a clear change in Belize in terms of ECD. I would say we're still in a relatively early stage of implementation. We have been in a learning phase. We've visited other countries and learned from them how they've built up their system. We've built the partnerships, borrowing from the best examples to ensure multi-sectoral collaboration, to pull together a system, to develop a system that can deliver this. We have invested heavily in training trainers to allow us to accelerate. And I think that now that we know, we've taken stock of the evidence, we've established the policy framework to guide the work. We've defined indicators to measure our progress, and we've got a workforce identified and designated to optimize every point of contact for children. We are now in the position to really be able to ramp up the work because we've got the tools in place to move the early childhood development work forward. We have yet more to do to improve the data on early childhood development. Ultimately, we will need to have systems, data systems that speak to each other, data systems from the health, education, social development sectors that speak to each other and allow us to quickly identify vulnerabilities in families and to target those families with the support that they need to ensure that they can achieve the early childhood development outcomes that we seek. At the moment, we still have parallel data systems. We're working, we've identified that with the government, and we're discussing right now how to make that possible. And we're looking together with the regional office and with headquarters, the headquarters team, to find out where there are lessons learned about how you can do better at linking these systems and introducing that efficiency in service delivery and planning. The other challenge that we have and that we will continue to grapple with is financial sustainability. And for that, we need to, in Belize, we are looking for ways to make sure that we're more innovative in the partnerships that we put in place, and that we are really embedding early childhood development as a priority, as core business for every sector and every family and every community, because we are not going to be in the position to rely on a single budget source or funding source for this critical area for outcomes in children. It really has to be adopted by every partner, and we have to get new partners on board and committed for the long term.
All right, thank you very much for being with us, Susan.
Thank you very much for having me.